Hey there, boys and girls of YouTube world. Today the Duff Dog and I are getting back on you-know-what, the 1949 Ford chopped pickup with the LS swap in it. That's right, this thing's been sitting in the back corner of the shop here since July. That was the last time we worked on this thing. We kind of pushed it back there, stole some parts off it from my dad's Buick LS swap. I think we ran into some brake snags in the back, maybe the front. I know it doesn't steer because we've had to move it a few times out of the way, and the steering wheel just zings around in circles. The shifter works because I know we put it in park and we have to move it a couple times, so we move the shifter. And yeah, I really don't know where we're at. I got a whole bunch of parts sitting around that need to go on this thing in totes. So 2023, the Mortske New Year's resolution is to finish some projects, or as Chin say, get some hoods on things, because this doesn't have a hood on it. That doesn't have a hood on it. The bubble top doesn't have a hood on it. We just got a lot of things that we started on, and we got shelves full of parts sitting here, and we need to get them going. And I want to be able to enjoy these things in the summer, and I'm kind of getting a little burned out on the will it runs. Maybe you guys are too. It just kind of seems like the same thing every week. We bring it in, we flick some points, we clean up a carburetor, we pull some plugs, we rebuild a starter, we replace some plexi hoses. We put a bunch of tubes in tires. I'm so sick of tube and tires that I just want to choke the next tube of C. But yeah, we're gonna try to get some projects done. We're not gonna get this thing banged out this week. We're not gonna get it banged out next month. And we're not gonna probably just work on this steady, because it's really hard to get parts right now. It's been like that for like 2 freaking years now. So we're probably gonna be waiting for some wheels and tires and brakes and steering components and electrical components and who knows what. And then I get burned out on projects. Like, I can just bang out a project for a week or two, and then I get burned out on it, and it's just gotta go in the corner. So yeah, I think we're gonna bounce around. We're gonna work on this. We're gonna maybe work on that Impala, or maybe work on the bubble top. We'll maybe work on my Model A Coupe or my Model A Phaeton, or sneak a Will It Run in there. Who knows what we're gonna do, but we gotta get this thing. I'm sick of this thing sitting in the corner. It's collecting dust. We're stacking stuff on top of it. And it just, I see it in the background of the videos. I see it every time I walk in here. And so we're gonna give you some tips along the way of how to finish your projects. One of the things that I found really works for me is move stuff around. Like, if you got a car and it's been sitting there for 6 months, just move it around, spin it around the other way. You know, maybe set a different set of wheels on it, or set the hood on it, or just pull it out, wash it. And just, it's refreshing to walk into your shop the next day and to see that project is not, it's looking you in the face this time instead of got its back at you. And, you know, if you start getting carpet sitting on top of them, and with totes on top of them, with boxes from Christmas and kids' bikes and lawn furniture, your project's, it's going to die. And that's not what we want to happen. So that's one of my big tips. That's what really helps me. Maybe it's not going to help you, but just moving stuff around, it's because otherwise you see the same thing day in and day out. You're just like, it's just there. It's in the corner. We don't pay attention to it. But moving stuff around just gives me a new feeling of life that thing's there, and hey, we got to get after that thing. And I think, man, that looks pretty good looking that direction when, you know, I'm sick of seeing it facing the other direction for the last 7 months. So like I said, we haven't touched this thing since July. We got to get back at it. This thing's going to be a super awesome driver with that Dodge Dakota front end in it, and the LS swap and a Ford 9-inch. We got, by the time we're all said and done, we're going to have new brakes. We already got the power brake, disc brake set up in the front. We got a new steering column in there with our, I think it's an I Did It column, or maybe not, I don't know. It's a fancy aftermarket column, and we got our column shifter hooked up. Yeah, it's a really good start to a project. got excited about this after doing my dad's car, other than his car's got a 6-liter and this has got a 5.3, so I feel like this thing is, we're gonna have to find a 6-liter once we get it on the road. And guess what? If you don't like LS swaps, and you don't like guys who put LSs in other projects, or you don't like guys who put a Chevy engine in a Ford, leave a comment down below with why. And these answers are invalid and you can't use them. Because you're bastardizing it. Because no, we're not bastardizing it. This thing is, it's just fine the way it is. You're just jealous because it's better than it was when it was original. This thing, I guarantee, would stomp the flathead 6 or flathead V8 that was in this thing. And don't give me the, oh, LS swaps are overdone. Yeah, because they work and they're awesome. It's cheap horsepower. It's just like a small block Chevy. And don't use that complaint either. Oh, everybody's done a small block Chevy. I'm not changing the world here. Are you trying to change the world? No. We're just trying to make this thing better on a budget, and we're going to enjoy it, and it's better than it was sitting in the weeds, rotting away like it was at the last guy's place who had it. So leave a valid comment down below with why I shouldn't LS swap this thing. I'm going to read them all. I read everybody's comment. Am I going to change it? Absolutely not. We're already fully committed, but I'm so sick of the, oh, LS swaps are overdone. Or be original. What would, if I had a flathead in this? Yeah, it wouldn't be original. I mean, it would be original, but it would not be original. If I did a small block, a million guys have done that. So, am I going to put a Coyote motor in it? No, because they're stupid expensive. There's not a ton of support out there. I don't know anything about them, and I don't have any around. Guess what I have? A low-mile LS with a rebuilt 4L60E, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to get this project on the road, and we're going to enjoy it, and nobody cares. Oh, yeah, LSs are ugly, too. I'm going to agree with you on that, so don't leave that comment down below. Guess what? Coyote motors are ugly as well. All right, enough of me rambling. Let's get into this thing. Let's see what we got for parts sitting around. Let's see what we can get done this week. And then we'll order some more parts when we get to the end of the week. And then we'll bring this thing back another week. What do you say, Duff? Should we rip into it? Oh, you're mad because we're probably not going to go for a ride this week. A, because I know we're not going to have all the parts. And B, it's way too cold to be driving this thing around outside. All right, let's get after it. The good news is Duff doesn't have to open the hood this week because we already did. All right, first thing we're gonna do is pull these axles out because we got a surprise for you on some wheels and tires. Not gonna be in this video unless something crazy happens, but fronts are 4.5 bolt pattern, which is the Dodge Dakota, the early Dodge Dakota, not the Dodge Dakota that it is here, but that's the same as like Mopars and Ford cars. This is a 4 on 5.5 or 5 on 5.5, so Ford pickup. So we're gonna get this drilled to match, so that way we can have the same wheel bolt pattern all the way around, so we can have one spare and we get a lot better wheel selection. These 5 on 5.5, there's not a ton for what I like. There's a lot of pickup wheels, obviously, because it's a pickup rear end, but even though this is a pickup, we're gonna run a car style wheel, if you will. So let's get this wheel off and then we'll show you how to pull these axles out and we'll go from there. Well, of course, we haven't had that side apart yet, but fought us a little bit more. We had to use the brake drum puller that is made by Astro Tools. Wooden told me about that. Works pretty dang slick. And then used the slide hammer to get the axle out. She was seized in there pretty good on the bearing here. You can see how that one's nice and clean, and this one not so much. So the other thing we're gonna have to do here is there's that hole right there where you got the access to get the retaining plate out. So in order to re-drill that, we're either gonna have to fill that in and drill a new one, or we're gonna have to get our bolt pattern just right to miss that. So it'll be interesting what we do, huh, Duff? All right. Well, I guess they're ready to go to a dam it to get drilled out anyway. Let's see what he says. And there you have it. One backing plate access, I don't know, access hole welded shut. Just get yourself some round stock about the right diameter and cut her to thickness. When we get her machined for the holes, he'll true that surface up, and that'll give us a nice good solid surface to put those wheel studs back through. Welded both sides so it's good and strong. You can clean that up the backside a little bit if we got to. So yeah, should be good. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And he said we can either drill that hole in another spot, which is probably what we'll do, or I think you could get away with not having those. You might have to take the brake shoes off in order to tighten this flange up, but I said it shouldn't be a big deal. Bore a new hole through there. So, and then we'll probably just bore that hole right next to this one so that it ends up on these studs. Other thing you could do is you could leave that hole where it was, press all these out, and then fill all these holes too. But I figured it's easier to fill one hole and drill one new hole. Well, fill one hole and drill 6 new holes as opposed to filling 5 holes and drilling 5 new holes. Horse a piece. 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. Also, these Hardy gloves, they suck. The flap goes the wrong way. They don't fit worth the crap. They got nubbins in the end of your fingers. And yeah, don't weld in short sleeves. I don't know why I was doing that. Probably because I've been doing it my whole life. But got a little Bernie burn. Getting that tan going on this winter up here in Podunk. All the ladies is going to be flocking to me. Yeah, right. Okay. Let's get a hold of Dan, and I'm going to see if he wants me to press these studs out or if he's going to do it or what. Then we'll figure out what we're doing next. All right, first thing we're gonna do is I got this inverted flare adapter because we're using whatever size line on here. I think it's 3/8, and so we can't get a 3/8 nut small enough to fit into this radiator. So we gotta have these adapters. I'm gonna put these adapters in, bend these lines to where they gotta go, and then we're gonna take our handy dandy flaring tool. Hopefully remember to put the nut on there first, and then we're gonna flare them on there. All right. Can't screw this up, can we? Just wait. I don't know. Looks like the hex is bottoming out before. Oh my gosh. I don't think the hex is deep enough. Or the inverted flare is deep enough. It's bottoming out on that flex. Flex, hex. Words is hard. Well, that's gonna leak. Oh, for cheese and rice. You can tell by what we got going on here that the radiator's out, right, Duff? So you can see the hex on our fitting touches that bung before the inverted flare bottoms out. I found these inverted flare fittings, so I can put a 3/8 hose in between there, but these are the same deal. And the reason I need this adapter fitting is so that I can go to that 3/8 fitting to go to our steel line. Ideally, we would just thread right in with the line. It seems like this, 5/16 nut threads right in fine, even though they're pretty much the same depth. So I don't know what we got going on there. But anyway, had an old Tiffany, and she said, you know, why don't you just machine that surface down a little bit? And by machine, I mean grab the angle grinder machine. So we're gonna do to keep from debris getting in there and getting into our new transfusion is we're gonna pack her full of extra heavy duty grease, and then we're gonna clean, and that's gonna catch all of our aluminum shavings, and then we're gonna clean that out of there, and we're gonna be good to go. Ideally, these bungs would have been shorter, but can't win them all. And the only other option is to machine these fittings so that they have a deeper thread on them, I guess. And we ain't got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Okay, let's do some machine work. Well, would you believe it or not, we hosed up. We took too much material off here, and there's not enough threads in there to engage this adapter. So, yeah, we screw up. We're not afraid to admit our faults, but we're gonna have a Dammit machine us just take a piece of round stock and put a pipe thread on it, and then we'll weld that on here, and then we'll just have to have a pipe thread to inverted flare adapter. Not ideal, screwed up, oh well. Not a lot else we can do that we can figure out. All right. So we're not gonna have a tranny cooler, this tranny cooler anyway this week, so we're just gonna have to keep her looped for now. What kind of parts are we gonna put in now? Should put some downpipes on there and maybe some oxygen sensors. Yeah, maybe put some shock absorbers while we're at it. Let's do that. That'll make me feel good, you know. Make some progress finally. Doubtful, but we'll give her a whirl. All right, what should be a 15-minute job of swapping shocks, I wanted to do a quick, easy job, you know, to give myself a pat on the back and feel like we're moving forward with this whole project. So yeah, these are the stud style, I guess call them, shocks. You got 2 bolts on the bottom holding it in place, and then there's a stud that goes through the frame with a bushing on each side and a washer on each side and a nut. And they got this little double D shaft that's the shaft for the shock. And when you go to put a socket on it, it covers that up and you spin it around and the whole shaft spins. So I had to cut them out to get it out of there. And then when I'm tightening the new ones up, of course comes with some locking nuts, which I was gonna throw those away. But it's some goofy metric thread that I don't have. So we just had to go with those, and we had to put a locking pliers on it and spin it over. And when I was getting real angry, I went and looked on Amazon. Sure enough, they make a socket that fits that little double D. It's a GM shock absorber socket, they call it. Maybe there's a Mopar one too, but I'm guessing what you do is you just put a wrench on the nut, and then you put that socket on there and bzz, buzz it right down. I got one on order, so next time I'll be looking for that socket, but I won't be able to find it. So in case you didn't know, they make a cute little socket for these things. And I'm sure you guys already knew and you're yelling at me like, oh, you should have done that in the first place, but live and learn. All right. And just sometimes when you're stalled on a project, you just want an easy win. Like, I know the shocks aren't going to keep us from doing a burnout in this thing, but just get some parts off the shelf and then get some in here and, you feel good about it. But man, everything is just fighting us. Maybe this Ford doesn't want to live with a Mopar front end and a Chevrolet drivetrain. Who knows? All right, another quick win, hopefully. We got some new brake pads. I can't remember what we did 6 months ago, but apparently we didn't put brake pads in. I must have ordered rotors and forgot to get pads or something. Or I got the wrong ones. I don't know. Let's put those in there, and then those will be done. Right? Take it easy on us now. We gotta name this thing. What would you name this thing? A chopped 49 Ford F1 with a Dodge Dakota front end and a LS drivetrain. I don't know. Needs a name. It's always just been the chopped Ford. Or the LS powered chopped Ford or the LS truck. I don't know. Comment down below what you think we should name this thing. Might be a while before we got it on the road, so we got time to give her a name. Well, how could we possibly screw up brake pads? Probably got the wrong ones. It's all new parts, I think. So, I mean, we shouldn't have any rusty stuff to deal with. Let's do this. Only Mopar products would use a coat hanger to, I don't know, keep their brakes from vibrating. There's a couple Allen bolts back here, so we'll pop those loose, get these new pads in there, and carry on with our lives. Oh, these things would have went for another $120,000. Cross your fingers, the new parts fit. Pretty sure the same people that design windshield wipers design brake pads, because none of them are ever the same. Oh, one side done. Finally, something that went easy peasy lemon squeezy. Only took us about 6 minutes and 38 seconds. Let's do the other side. You do cross your fingers. Hope this side goes just as swimmingly. Next easy thing on the list, that's probably not going to be easy, is this transmission shift indicator neutral safety switch thinger. I don't know. It's on the side of the transmission. The shift shaft goes right through there, so we'll have to unhook the shift linkage, slide this over, a couple bolts hold her in place. Pretty much think this is just for your neutral safety switch is all we're gonna end up using. Maybe backup lights, I don't know. Apparently I bought it thinking I needed it. Tech tip of the day, if you're ever swapping one of these out on a 4L60E or a 4L80E, get yourself a heat gun and liberally heat up around these connectors, because it's got some kind of schmoo glue in there, and they're a real pain in the behind to get out of there. So that's your tech tip of the day. Don't ruin them prying on them and such. Okay, let's get this sucker slid in there. Alright, we had her fish down the wrong side of the transfusion, so we rerouted her here. Now we got plenty of wire. That's the thing with these projects, you gotta lay the wires out right, because if they rub through, you're gonna rub through the bottoms of your shoes walking home. Okay. Much better. She's a little taut when it was routed from the other direction. Alright, come on, plug in now. Please? I know you want to go in there. I know you do. You're started. Just finish going the rest of the way. There we go. Put our little safety clippy do in there so she don't come unplugged. I don't know why all the manufacturers think those are necessary. I got this little guy down here. And then we just gotta fish this over to the other side. That's our great big connector that pretty much runs everything on the transmission. And I think that's an oxygen sensor that we don't need, maybe. And then this is be our transfer case. Maybe that's our speed sensor. And that's our I don't know. We ain't using all of them. We don't have a speedo, so we don't have to worry about that. Oh, we do have a speedo. That's what we can fix next. Perfect. Here's our switch. It's a Delco 213-1701. Since this was a four-wheel drive transmission converted to two-wheel drive, our speed sensor was in the transfer case before, so we need this guy to go into the transmission now since we don't have the transfer case that we once had. And I had to steal this part out of that transmission to put in my dad's Buick because the brand new one in his car did not work. So I'm gonna slide this in the tail shaft of the transmission right about there, and we should be good to go. I think I gotta modify this bracket a little bit because she's awful tight against the transmission mount that somebody fabric cobbled around here. All right, let me get that done. Alrighty, speed sensor is in, wires hooked up. Like I said, the only wire back here is this guy, and I'm pretty sure that is for the transfer case. For the shift motor in the transfer case, maybe? I don't know, maybe it's for the oxygen sensor. Either way, we're not using rear oxygen sensors. Sorry, Greta.
How dare you!
So, I think we're done with transmission connectors. All right, on to something else. We're really killing it at the old small wins here. We're gonna need a big win one of these days though, but probably not happening. Big win, oh, I forgot to tell you guys. I think I had 4 of these. There's 5 here, Mojo's got one. We had 4 and we were down to 3 for quite a while. Then we were down to 2 and we found that one. Anyway, this thing had been sitting since July and it's now January. Lifted this thing up moist and it was stuck right there. Maybe it was this one. It's number 1, so I started numbering them. No, that's number 3. Number 1 is the one that we lost. But we found it, so I mean, that's a big win right there when you find your Cyclops. Those lights are freaking great. They're bright. The magnets are super awesome. The only problem is they're too awesome, so they you forget about them because they stick to things real good. Anyway, let's see what we're gonna do next. I don't know. We're whittling away at our table here. We could turn some brake drums, or do some downpipes, maybe some brake work. Oh, we got to mount. That's gonna be a big project. We got to get that steering column mounted and steering hooked up. We'll see how this thing works. I don't know if I'm sold on it. Seems kind of janky. Doesn't help that I bought the cheap one from unknown company. Okay, I'm gonna have a sandwich, think about what we're gonna work on next. Ooh, we got new bolts for the exhaust manifolds. We're gonna knock out another quick win here, replace this rear brake hose. I don't know if we had the wrong one last time or what, but of course the fitting at the end of the line is rusted to it, so it wants to spin with the line. So we're gonna give her a little heat and get that off there, and then hopefully just get this line replaced. Little heat goes a long ways. There we go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Give the old breather hold down bolt combination there. A quick sprucing up with the old fire wheel. Basically, Barrett Jackson quality restoration stuff going on here today. And now it'll snap off. That's hot yet. Well, that means I'm going to put my finger on it, though. Boom, another small win done. Speaking of wins, we should take this millet bale out and go kick it out back for the pheasants so that they got something to eat, because it's a pretty terrible winter we got going on here. The local Pheasants Forever puts together these things and members can get them for free to feed the pheasants. So we're just doing our part so that Duff and I can go harass them again next fall. All right. And then we got to figure out what we're going to work on next, Duff. All right, there we go. I had this brake line. I don't know if it's MIA or if I screwed it up or whatever, but we got a new one on there. It's not perfectly amazing, but it's better than this ugliness over here. I think I think it was supposed to go along the top of the rear end, but since they put these different spring hangers or U-bolts, that they had to reroute it, so that's why it's not so pretty. And I think they use the stock lines instead of running new ones. So, okay. On to the next one. And the next one is changing the oil in the generator, because the power company called and said, hey, we're going to shut your power off for 2 hours tomorrow. Awesome. Just what I want to hear is them shutting the power off when it's 15 degrees outside. So this thing had probably 50 hours or better of runtime. Shoot, probably close to 100 hours of runtime. And I guess you're supposed to change oil like every 25 hours. So we're going to change the oil before we run her for this next bout tomorrow. So just what I wanted to do today, work on small engines. I despise the small engines. That's why you don't see us working on snow blowers and lawn mowers and snowmobiles and motorcycles around here. Look what Al Dammit brought us back. We got some fresh 4.5-inch bolt pattern. New inspection hole drilled. He faced off the front here so that it's all nice and trued up. And then he also faced off the back because this bevel here got into where the wheel studs were pressed in. You got to have that surface flat, so we got that all faced off. Ready to install. The only thing is I forgot to have him drill the bolt pattern in the brake drums, but we can do that later. I'm not even sure if we're going to be using those. So I'm going to press the studs in, and we'll put these all back together, and then we can start measuring for that mysterious rolling stock, right, Duff? Yeah. Look at this sweet online purchase. We're just like Watch West work, aren't we, Duff? Got ourselves an Amco brake lathe. Oh yeah, overhauling all of the brake drums and rotors. Now we got to drill out the bolt pattern to 4.5. Forgot to do that. Look at that OEM Ford stuff, made in America. Here's our brake shoes. I don't want to put these back on with our newly turned drums. You can see that gap in there. Not good. So I got some of these coming. Of course, they're not going to be here this week for our video. So, can't put brake drums on there. They don't have the right bolt pattern anyway, but we can slide some axles in and start doing some measurements, see what we can fit on here for wheels. So let's get those slid in. Well, look who's back. The old 15x8 dual bolt pattern red rocket wheels off of the, what do we have them on? AMC, what was that thing called? The Rambler SST touring thinger. Oh man, just totally changes the look of that car up. Put some dog dish center caps under there. I think it's some dog dishes. It looks sweet. Yeah, that Duff. Anyway, looks like we got clearance. Clearance.
2-4. We have clearance, Clarence. Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
For a little bit of tire there on the outside. All kinds of room on the inside. So I think I'm going to throw some 275/60s on there. And we're going to see if they fit, because that's my go-to tire size, 275/60. All you got to do is get yourself a straight edge and a wheel. That's why I keep all kinds of wheels around for stuff like this. I was wondering if we could get an 8 in there. We could maybe even get an 8.5 with the right offset. All right. Let's see if we can find a 275/60 and get her mounted up. Bad news. I don't like how that wheel is not centered in that fender, but maybe that's how they are. Also, of course, the tire bulges out further than the rim. She's real close up there. We'll let her down and see, but I think 15x7 is going to be more along the lines of what we're going to get away with. The tire actually sticks out further than the fender here, which would be all right, but I think it's going to rub. Let's get her down on the ground and see what happens. Ooh, doggy. She's just about a finger width of clearance in there. We might get away with them with some weight on it. But then again, on the other side, the rear end's kind of sitting kittywampus because we don't have a wheel on that side, right, Duff? Oh man, we probably got to mount up one on the other side, huh? Get some weight on it. That's the other thing is, there's a stack of leaf springs in here that's way too thick, and we're probably going to take a few out. So when we do that, it's going to get lower. But then again, we could put spacers in there, do something to get her back up to the right ride height. But yeah, to be honest, I'd like to redo that whole rear end, because the C-notch and those leaf springs are old and worn out and way too thick, and just go with a 4-link and then maybe move that rear end back an inch or so. What do you think, Duff? Sounds like a lot of work, don't it? And then we got to get a longer drive shaft and redo our brake lines. Ugh. Do it right, he says. But I think we can get away with that wheel and tire for sure if we had a narrower rear end. I'm going to narrow that up quick. I'm going to have a sandwich and sit back, take a peep at this, and see what we're going to do for sure. We might have to go with a 7. Maybe some 255s instead of 275s. Have a sandwich, think about it? All right, let's do it. We'll come check her out, Duff. She's still pretty tight up there, but we got a finger width back there. We got the other 275/60 Cobra on this 8-inch wheel. We got way more room on this side. I know. Let me get my finger in there. You notice how I don't use my thumb because you don't have any? I'm not trying to upset you. Anyway, so the rear end, Chin noticed that it's just sitting on the spring perches. What do we call those? Those weld-on mounts that are not welded on. Anyway, the rear end we can move side to side because the only thing holding it is the clamps right now. That being said, we can maybe, and then the box, I mean, clearly you guys have seen how it's Got whatever strut, unistrut, or whatever that is in place. So I'm guessing the bed could be jockeyed around a little bit. But I think instead of a 275/60, these tires are stated for another project, and I kind of always keep a set floating around anyway. But I think we're gonna go with a 255/70. So these are 275/60, so they're gonna be 20 millimeters narrower, and then they're gonna be about the same heights because our aspect ratio is going from a 60 to a 70 ratio, so it'll be closer. It's gonna be about the same height, and then just a hair narrower. That'll give us a little bit more room, and it'll fill out that wheel well really well. I think we can get away with a 15/8. The problem is the wheels that I want to put on here, they are on back order, of course, because the world that we live in right now, huh, Duff? So I'm gonna have to do a little bit more searching to see what we can come up with for wheels. But I did mount up a 15/7. I only had one of these around, polished American Racing torque thrust. I don't really like the polished ones because they look so much like my favorite wheel, the Krieger. And so I really love it when people are like, oh man, those Kriegers look really great on your car. Even though I think we got these on the 92 and the 68 D100, the King. Both those pickups have polished torque thrusts on them. But this is a 15/7 with a 255/60. If I can find some lug nuts, I think we're gonna stick that on there just to see what we got. And maybe a 7 will be just fine. The problem is the wheels that I want to put on here, 7s are not available either. So I don't know what we're gonna do. Like, what is going on in the world? You can't even get wheels. I can order tires galore, all kinds of different brands of tires. I was just looking at 255/70s. I can get tires till you're blue in the face, but you can't get these really fantastic wheels that I want to get. One place said they're available, but they won't ship until April. And we kind of want to get this project rolling, which, granted, we put some front wheels on it, she's going to roll. Of course, a 15/6 wheel, you can get those, we can have those middle of next week. So maybe we'll do some looking, see if we can find some different vendors, or maybe we can find some on eBay or Amazon. Who knows what, but we're gonna do a little digging. The good news is I think we can get away with a 15/8 on the back here. This is why I like playing around with wheels, because wheels and tires and stance clearly makes your ride. If you've got the nicest 69 Chevelle in the world, but you have some 14-inch Steelies with dog dishes and it sits a mile high in the air, you just totally ruin that car. Basically everything in my fleet is the same as when I got it. Maybe I buffed the paint, but other than that, we just lower them, wheels and tires. Or if you got a 4-wheel drive, you lift it up, put some big wheels and tires on it, kind of like the 85 Ford we got. Stick a little bit bigger wheel and tire underneath it. 71 Ford I got, a little bit bigger wheel and tire. We go with the dog dish hubcaps. Makes all the difference. So put your time in, take some measurements. Not everybody's got a bunch of wheels and tires laying around like I do to see what fits, but talk to your buddies, maybe your local hot rod shop. They might have something they can loan you with. They make really fancy tools for, you can bolt it onto your wheels and swings around in an arc and you can see what you can fit for a wheel and tire. But I've heard mixed reviews on those, and plus they're like silly expensive. I want to say they're like, they used to be like $300-400 bucks. They're probably like $600 bucks now. But and how often are you going to use them? Somebody like me probably use it a few times a year, but the average person probably never going to use it. Maybe twice in their life. So I'm going to see if I can find some lug nuts and we'll stick that polished torque thrust on there and see how that looks. Hold the phone. Duff had a little discussion with a Tiffany. He said, what about those baby moons? Sneak them on there, see how they look. I don't know. We're not big red wheel people, but looks all right. Maybe if a guy painted those black. I don't know, ain't sold on it. Let's stick that bad boy on there and see how she looks on. Duff? Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, I'm with you. That is not enough tire, and it's way too shiny. Just can't get excited about it. That's a 255/60, so that's usually what I run on the fronts of the square bodies and the OBS and stuff like that. Give us a bit more room out here, which is pretty much the amount of room that we're going to see with a 255/70, because sidewall width's the same. The only thing is you're going to have the sidewall height is going to be different, but the width is going to be the same. But it's just that 255 60 is not enough sidewall. It doesn't fill her out quite enough, does it, Duff? And it's too shiny. It's just too shiny. I mean, I don't mind a shiny wheel, but on a flat pickup like this, I just ain't my thing. Got one more option we could play with, right? Yeah, I know. We'll go dig that one out. That right there. That's a good looking wheel, boys and girls. This is an American Racing torque thrust. I think it's a D. This is a 15 by 8.5. But I don't have a lot of 4.5 inch bolt pattern torque thrusts, so I either got that polished one or this one. And you can see that 8.5, both the 8 and the 8.5 have 4-inch back spacing, so this moves it out another 1/2 inch because same back spacing, wider wheel. So you can see we can't even set it on the ground, but she looks good up in there. I think just the perfect combination of a dirty mag and a polished lip, you know, not the full-on polish like that guy right there. These do not use the conical style lug nuts. You gotta have the, I don't know, ones that go inside there. But anyway, we can't set it on the ground anyway, so I just wanted to see how it would be. The only other thing is I'm gonna take a look and see, we gotta clamp that rear end in place. You know, we gotta weld these spring perches. These U-bolts are too wide. It looks like they're for a 2-inch spring. This is an 1 3/4 spring. These springs are old and worn out and need new bushings and all that anyway. I don't know what rear gear this thing's got. We're having trouble finding brakes. Just, anyway, I'm not in love with this rear end. So I'm gonna take a look, see what we can do. Maybe we can get a little bit narrower car rear end that's already gonna have the 4.5. It's gonna get easier to find brakes. And we're not married to this rear end. Yeah, we maybe spent a little bit too much time drilling out the axles, but that's what you got to do to figure out what wheels and tires you're going to get in there. You can't just take a tape measure and eyeball it. You got to physically get a wheel up in there, and even then you still screw up. That's why I have these wheels. These wheels I bought to put on the back of my 63.5 Galaxy because somebody on the internet said that they fit. I found a good deal on some used ones, had them shipped to me, used. Here they are, 10 years later, floating around because I don't have anything to fit. So, that being said, I'm gonna take some measurements, see maybe we can get a rear end that's like 3 inches narrower, so that'd give us an 1.5 inch clearance on each side, on the outside, and then if we could move it in a bit, then I could use those wheels. Then I just gotta get some lug nuts. You know the game. I do have a stack of rear ends laying around because I save rear ends, especially 8 and 9 inch Ford rear ends, just because they're so robust and interchangeable, and they work good in applications like this. So I'm gonna do a little figuring, see what we can come up with. Because Duff's like, yeah, he's like, I would give those wheels a thumbs up if I had thumbs right now. I think those look pretty schwanky. I might have to set her on the ground and just ogle it a little bit, see how she looks. I like it. I even kind of like them without the center cap, or if they're just a flat cap on there. I think they look pretty all right too, but the regular center caps work as well. Okay, keep playing around with wheels. This is what makes or breaks your project. Wheels and tires and stance. Sorry, it is what it is. You heard it here first. Just kidding. Somebody else probably told me that already. Get your wheel and tire choice perfect and get your stance perfect. Everybody will love your Opel GT or your AMC Gremlin, whatever it is you got. Maybe even your Ford Aerostar van. Just wait till those things are cool. Somebody should start snagging those things up. All-wheel drive, 5-speed. Get all the minivans. The Turbo, Chrysler, Plymouth, Grand Voyager, the 5-speed Astro vans, all the good stuff. Oh, damn, it's really hooking us up this week. He cut us out a couple of these 3/8 weld bungs. So all we gotta do is burn that guy on there, sizzler in there real good. And then I've got a fitting that goes from 3/8 NPT to, what is this, 5/8 inverted flare. It's not a 5/8 inverted flare, but it's a 5/8 thread. I think it's 5/8 16. So that'll work real good. And then if this one strips out, we can always weld that on there. But now we just gotta get real good at aluminum welding, or find somebody to do that for us. You much good at TIG welding aluminum? Yeah, we might have to do some practicing. Good news is this should all be nice, clean aluminium for us to weld, eh? Aluminium, that's what you Australians call it, right? It's more fun to say than aluminum. I concur. Save the day. Oh, damn it, we owe him big time. We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this little tidbit about Loper's performance. So it seems like that last little tidbit did pretty well about the ice scraper with tie-able service on the 1961 Chevrolet Bel Air 4-door post. He wanted to be a doctor or a pharmacist, but with the Great Depression, he ended up having to go to work to help his father, so he worked at a service station for a while. Go check that video if you haven't. So on the firewall of this pickup, there's a decal that said Loper's Performance, Phoenix and Mesa. It didn't really mean anything to me in one of the last videos that we did on this pickup. A lot of comments down below about Loper's performance, and since that last little tidbit about tie-able service performed so well, we thought we'd jump back here into Studio D for Studio Duff, who was breathing hard and smelling my leg. I was just out feeding some millet bales to our pheasants so that they survive the winter, hopefully. And we'd give you a little update on what is going on with Loper's performance and what Loper's performance is. So Loper's performance started in 1967 by a gentleman, I believe, named John Loper Sr. You can find some information online. At one point they had 4 locations, as you saw on the emblem on this pickup, or this decal. Phoenix and Mesa. Phoenix is the one and only location. They currently have about 10 employees. I believe his name is Logan. Loper is still there. He is the grandson of John Loper Sr. The Loper family does not own the business anymore. It's owned by, I believe, a gentleman's name is Mike Kelly. He's been an employee in the service department for about 30-ish years. They do both sell parts and then they do service as well. They'll do pretty much a full restoration for you. They don't do, body paint, interior, stuff like that, but they'll do, all the fabrication and parts and suspension, drivetrains, you name it. They do it all, it sounds like. They've even got Saturday hours. How many places are open Saturday anymore? These speed shops were kind of a big thing well before my time. I've never really had them at my disposal, but a lot of the big cities like, Chicago, Los Angeles, there's a ton of them out in California, Sacramento, stuff like that. And then obviously in Phoenix, like I said, the Mesa location is no longer open. He said there was 4 locations at one time. Sounds like this Logan's a pretty good wealth of information. They've got multiple employees that have been there for 30 plus years. So it's really cool that a place like that is still open. 1967 and now, what's that? Freaking 55 years now, 56 years. So it's cool that place is open. So if you're in the Mesa area, go check them out. Sounds like they got a neat showroom. They sell a lot of parts, carry a lot of the big manufacturers parts, the Edelbrocks, the Hollies, the Wyans, stuff like that. There's a lot of information listed on their website as well. So I just called them up. Logan answered the phone. I said, hey, I got this YouTube channel and we kind of want to provide some history on your company. What can you tell me? And so I started shooting off questions and he answered them. Like I said, it's a family-owned business. It was in the family for 45 years, and then about 9 years ago, Mike took it over, and he'd been there for 30 years. So it sounds like he knows a lot about the business. So it's really cool that places like this still exist. So that is our little tidbit of history that we want to drop in there for you guys this week. And leave a comment down below if you've got a good story about Loper's performance, or if you've ever been there or bought something from them. And also leave a comment below with what you want to see us give you some history lessons on, a quick little 5-minute history lesson like this. And we gotta think of a name for this. Like I said, Studio D for Duff back here. And yeah. All right, now back to your regularly scheduled shenanigans. Oh yeah, get yourself some merch down below. All right, we got her on the ground. Did some measuring with the rear end. I think we're just gonna stick with that rear end. There's not a lot of room on the inside, and then not a lot of room on the outside. We got the 255 back on this side, so I think a 255/70, so same width, but a little bit taller sidewall is gonna be our best option, and then probably some 7-inch wheels. An 8, in my opinion, looks a little bit better, but I don't know, we'll see. And then availability on 8s is insane right now on multiple wheels. I looked up other designs of wheels as well. So I think that's where we're gonna wrap it this week. If you got a project like this, like I talked about earlier, get some small wins in there. You know, get the brake pads in, get your rear brake hose in there, get your axles drilled. You know, figure out what wheels and tires you want, and, you know, maybe save up for some money, because I know wheels and tires is a big expense. We kind of got the radiator situation figured out for the cooling lines. Got to do a little bit of work there. Get your shocks in, just little stuff like that. Just pick away your projects. Don't think of the overall picture and you know, oh, I got to get this thing painted and interior and yada yada. Just one thing at a time. You know, get the horn working, get the taillights wired up. You know, get your seat position the way you wanted it. You know, pull your gauge cluster apart and clean it. You know, some of that stuff, it takes a little bit of time, but it doesn't cost you any money. Just clean the inside, or you know, or paint your shifter knob. Just little stuff like that, you know, helps make you feel good that you're gaining some progress on these long projects, and then it also, you know, in fact, is getting you closer to getting a finished product. Because let's be honest, these things are never finished. You're always gonna be like, oh man, I want it to be a little bit lower in the front, or I want to put that hidden receiver hitch on the rear, or I want exhaust cutouts, or I want to put that stereo in. They're never done. You're always constantly evolving and changing. This thing is getting closer down the road for us, so thank you very much for watching. Check out the merch down below. Leave a comment, it helps with the algorithm. Check out our other videos. Let us know what project you want to see us working on. You want to see us working on the bubble top? You want to see us working on my Model A Phaeton? You want us to keep plugging away on this? We got, you know, I got that 71 Chevy pickup I showed in a video a long time ago that just needs a whole lot of updating. White Lightning, we showed that in the video. That thing just needs to get out. Got my Galaxy, you could pick away at a couple of things. I just got a lot of cars, and they all need something. My orange 71 Ford pickup, the rear end's pretty much out of it. The drive chassis to be gone through. That'd be a good project. Bring that thing in. Figure out what gears are in it and get a rear end either ordered or get parts for it so that we can rebuild that one and then send the drive chassis off to a driveline shop and get those rebuilt. Anyway, we got plenty of projects. You know, and leave a comment down below. Do you want to see us get back to wheel it runs? Is that what you guys are here for? Is that what you guys want to see? I mean, that's kind of been our bread and butter, but we just kind of needed a break, didn't we, Duff? Yeah, he likes the wheel it runs and stuff where he gets to go for a ride. If we could only just bang out a project in one video, like the 64 C10, it's a lot of work, I know. All right, see you next week. On to the next one. Thanks for watching. Oh yeah, remember, it doesn't matter how you get it done, as long as you're having fun. We did have a little bit of fun this week. We didn't get a lot done though. You win some, you lose them. One step forward, 2 steps back. 2 forward, 1 back. I don't know. We took a lot of steps back this week, it seems like. Which wheels do you think we should put on it? No comment.